Hey guys, what is up? Thanks for clicking. Thanks for checking out this video. So, if you clicked on this video, you're interested in cement board. We are at our new house and we're at the point where we're installing the cement board for the backsplash here in the kitchen. And I thought I'd give you guys a few of my tips for installing cement board. The last video I did on cement board, I installed cement board over plywood floors at the flip house that we did a few months ago. If you haven't seen that video, there will be a link either down below or on one of these corners. The kitchen floor was a plywood subfloor and we installed a 1/2 inch cement board for the tile so that it'd be a good substrate for it. Here we are installing it for the backsplash, which it's not absolutely necessary to have cement board on a backsplash, but it is better and preferable. All right, so we are using 1/2 inch cement board. There's different brands. There's HardieBacker. This is PermaBase Plus cement board, and then Home Depot has a Wonder Board, I think, and another brand. But as you can see, 1/2 inch thick. This one is cement board and some sort of styrofoam, I guess, to make it lighter. I'm assuming. I don't know what the styrofoam is for, but as you can see, it has that in there. And this is just water resistant. You're not going to get mold. You're not going to get water damage on this if moisture gets behind your tile, like specifically on the backsplash area where the sink is going to be. That's where you really need to have it, but this is what they use in showers, bathrooms, and stuff like that. So this comes in sheets that are 3 foot by 5 foot, and they're usually between like $10 and $15 here in my area, which is in Oklahoma. So I'm gonna give you a few of my tips when installing this stuff. The first tip is you don't need to go out and buy a concrete blade or a concrete cutter or whatever. I just cut this stuff with a regular utility knife. We score it a few times and then you just bend it just like you do drywall, and you cut the backside. You do go through a bit of blades because it is cement, so you can use the blade a couple times and you switch it out. There's no need to go out and buy a concrete blade when you can just score it and snap it. And there's less dust, especially like here where we don't want to get a bunch of dust on these cabinets, or you don't have to go outside and cut. You can just cut inside a lot better. So tip number 2 is use a ruler. So I guess this is kind of like tip number 2 and tip number 3, because use a ruler, and then tip number 3 is score it and break it like drywall. Specifically, I like to use a drywall ruler because it does come in sheets and it's a lot like cutting drywall. Again, you score it a few times, maybe a little bit more than regular drywall, and then you put it on the edge of your workspace and you break it, and then you cut the backside like this. So use a ruler, get those straight lines, and you want to score it a good amount of times before you try to break it because it is cement, so do that. So that's tip number 2 and tip number 3. Alright guys, and tip number 4 is when you are doing your joints, make sure you are using a mesh tape that's specifically for cement board. Make sure it's a tape that's alkaline resistant. You will usually find this where the cement board's at, or the tile stuff is at. And they don't recommend using drywall mesh tape. It's not the same thing. The one for the cement board is alkaline resistant and it's made specifically for these boards. So make sure you use that. And tip number 5 is similar to 4, make sure you use the right screws for this. So don't use drywall screws. They're not gonna hold up, specifically to moisture. Drywall screws don't hold up, they rust, they break, so they're just made for drywall. Use cement board screws like these. Alright, these are backer on, rock on. These are 1 1/4 inch, around $10 a box, and this drives flush. And these are corrosion resistant, so the stuff that's in the cement board, and it won't corrode it like it will drywall screws or other types of screws. And they're specifically for cement boards. This is a T25 bit. Tip number 6 is plan it out ahead of time, guys. So specifically if you're doing floor, you want to plan it out draw it out, something before you start, and figure out where your sheets are gonna go, how you're gonna run it perpendicular to the joist. So you wanna do a dry fit before you add the mortar, specifically on the floor ones, because those have, if you're doing it over plywood, those have mortar that goes underneath. So you wanna dry fit every single piece, cut out the small pieces, everything, see how everything's gonna fit together, and then pick up the pieces and start to mortar underneath them one by one, and then screw them in. So do that before applying the mortar. Make sure you plan ahead. Same thing on these aren't as, but same thing I've got here. I've got a few pieces cut, measured, put in, and I've got like one screw holding them in just until I finish putting the rest of it. And then after that, then I'll put all the screws in and tape all the joints together. So make sure you plan ahead of time and you lay out your cement board ahead of time before you add any mortar to it or screws. All right, and tip number 7, last tip. This is if you're doing subfloor over plywood or any subfloor cement board. You want a brick pattern, guys. You never want the edges to all run together, so you want to stagger every sheet. You never want 4 corners together. You want to stagger in a brick pattern, and that will be the best way. That's the correct way to install this stuff. You never want to put sheet next to sheet next to sheet and have straight lines running across. Same as drywall, pretty much similar to drywall, different material, I think. All right, guys, and that's it. Freebie. This stuff is kind of rough. It's cement. If you're not used to it, be careful on these edges. Sometimes you'll run your fingers along the edges and you'll cut them, so be careful. Or if you want to wear gloves, wear some gloves. This stuff is kind of rough, but have fun, guys. It's easy to install, like drywall. Same thing, guys. So thanks for watching. I hope these tips help you guys out if you're installing some of this stuff. And as always, thank you for clicking on my video. If you like the video, please hit that like. It just lets YouTube know that this video was helpful and that you liked it. And if you want to see more videos in the future, if you want to see where this house started, where we started here, or if you want to see the flip house that we did a few months ago, hit that subscribe, guys. Turn on the notifications so you can see all the videos of this house. I'm posting them every week. You can see where we're at and how this house turns out. So thank you guys again for watching. I really appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys next week.